Ironically, the absolute best game for me to start playing on PC was Age of Empires 2 because it set the anchor point. Like, because that was the first PC game I ever set up a ton of hotkeys for, it made me think that I was going to have to set up dozens of hotkeys for every game I played. Because in AoE, like, I have one for like a villager, like there's 15 of them for select all barracks, select all this, QA for build a farm, QQ, like all these other things. And so in my head, I was doing that for months and months and months, getting real quick at it. And I'm like, I feel like I'm kind of ready for other games. Maybe other games won't be too intimidating for me now because I'm good at this really old one. And then I try new games and I realize immediately, like, oh my God, I started with like S tier difficult game as far as hotkeys. It is laughable how little I've had to change in Warhammer 3.
There's not a lot of hotkeys.
Easy as shit. Like,
a lot of the pros don't use hotkeys. I think where
I can like take bong rips in the middle of games during Warhammer 3.
And you do. I think the hard part of WASD for me was first-person shooters, because very quickly I kind of become acclimated to, oh yeah, this does this and that does that. Like I could walk around and say an RPG, like a Skyrim type game, and I'm not going to bump into trees after like 3 hours of doing that. But Jesus, making your character move while you're aiming, like the sort of the way you do on a controller, the way you're able to just kind of strafe out of cover and then track a target, click, and then as soon as you click, you're strafing back into cover, that sort of fluid way that you're able to play. It took years for me because I'm, maybe slow at learning things, and still I don't think I'm very good at it, but I, I'm as good as I'm going to get.
You think that's the genre of game you're best at? Shooters?
It has to be, not because I'm necessarily talented at it, but just I've spent so much time doing it. I think I'm just better than the average person that hasn't spent so much goddamn time researching and strategizing about it. I mean, even now, like most of my YouTube is spent watching Warhammer stuff and learning about Warhammer. I'll spend about an hour every morning just running simulations, when I drink my coffee, just learning what happens when you throw this rock against that piece of paper. So I know.
Is that what you're doing? You're doing that to learn?
Yeah.
I'm just making the cool armies and making them fight.
No, I'm running simulations that I'm like sticking in the back of my brain that, okay, this will do that to this in this scenario. And if you build enough of those, then when you look at a battlefield, you know where to send your stuff and when to, not send your stuff and what to do. The matchups are real important in that game.
Yeah.
At the higher end. It's a real fun game. I'm really glad you've gotten into gaming. We should play a game maybe that gets a bunch of us in on like a co-op type game of some kind. I like those. I like when you got like 5 guys running through a field on a mission. I'm so glad you got into the game. When you bought that computer, I was like, there's no way he can afford not to play games with me now.
Then I have. We've been playing a ton. Like, it is so much fucking fun playing Warhammer 3 with Kyle on there. Like we sometimes we get we do 2v2s, and then we'll with like us,
Patreons
and a couple other patrons in there, and we had a funny one last night with a couple of patrons in there. We had set up and we were doing some 2v2s, and everybody's been getting better, and so like Kyle and I were on the same team for this one, and we weren't doing domination, we were doing land battle, which much less skill gap.
Fight to the death.
It's a fight to the death, just fighting to the death. There's, if Kyle and I were 2v2 in them in domination, it wouldn't be fun because we just control everything the whole time. And when you ready up in this game, it starts a timer for everyone else that they have to ready up. And it's considered very poor etiquette to do a sneaky ready to try and fool people and make it so their army can't be set up. And we also had a glitch that prevented us from starting the game unless you turned off unit caps. Now, what that means, Woody, is there are certain units in the game that are so unbelievably powerful that the game limits you to 1. So like there will be a special unit called the Black Orcs. Like that's a high class of orc infantry.
And then there's your chessboard.
That's a really good infantry unit. But then there's a special one called the Crimson Killers, and that's a special version of the already powerful Black Orcs, and they're even more expensive, and you can only bring 1 of them. The game limits you to 1 because otherwise it's absurd.
Or
1 at a time, 1 in the whole game. You can't, even if you can afford it, only 1 of those, and then it blacks out.
They're a unique regiment of renown.
Well, the regiments of renown.
The Crimson Killers.
If you lose them, you can't get them back.
You can, the next game you can't. Basically, what it's meant to be is like you know how there'd be a regiment of fighter pilots, and then there'd be one called like the Killers, like this really dangerous renown one.
The Red Baron.
It's a regiment of renown, and Kyle had to turn off unit caps, and there's all sorts of regiments around. There's a special one for zombies, of specially like regenerating zombies. There's special ones for everything. And one person does, in the 2v2 match, immediately does a sneaky quick ready against me and Kyle, and we do not notice. And the other one, at the last second before the game, took advantage of the no unit caps and brought nothing but regiments of renown, the overpowered ones. And then like the battle starts with me and Kyle on our side, and we're like, first of all, we're playing, and we're like, oh, there's 4 seconds till the game starts. My army's not set up. And so the game starts, and both of our armies are in horrible positions because we got fooled. And then we start fighting, and I'm like, God damn, the Crimson Killers. And then, wait, the Crimson Kill. It's all Crimson Killers. It's nothing but Crimson Killers out here. And so we are like desperately trying to fight for our lives for it. And like Kyle and I are actually like, it's 12:30. It's the last game before bed. And I'm like a little cranky at it, where I'm like, we're both like, you know what you did here, guys. Like, you know what you did. You sniped us with the army ready, and you took 1,000,000 billion of the best units because we turned off a setting that we had to turn off for the game not to glitch.
It's poor sportsmanship. That's what I call
sportsmanship. They apologized, and so everything water under the bridge now.
But they beat you.
In all honesty, it's only water under the bridge because we still won.
What?
Yeah, we still won. But
I didn't see that coming.
We're warlords of a pretty
absolutely.
Yeah, we're warlords now. We're pretty impressive. We know the buttons. We know what to click.
APMs and such.
APMs and such. It's great. Like I love RTS top-down war strategy games on maps more than anything.
I'm afraid I'm going to get indoctrinated into the figurine group, though.
Don't allow that. I'm not going to do it either.
Do it.
Because I'm into like all the other sides of the hobby. Like if it were a pentagram of Warhammer, I kind of like the animation. I like the books. I like the lore, if that's even a thing, and all the YouTube stuff. I like the video games.
Yeah,
man.
And over there's that tabletop.
He would have joined me in convincing Kyle to get figurines. Figurines are for cool people who do cool things.
They're fucking.
They do look neat. Henry Cavill has them, and he's cool.
See,
he has talent though. He's good at painting figurines.
You're good at things.
Is he good at it, or does he just do it?
I bet he's good at it. It seems like he's good at anything he applies himself. He's Superman, Taylor.
Yeah, you're good.
I bet he is.
Apply yourself too. You can do it.
I'm not into artistic things that involves painting. No, I don't want to own little man toys though. I think that's the main thing. I'm into lots of nerdy shit, but it's all digital for the most part. There's no evidence if you walked into my home of how nerdy I am. It's all on the computer. It's like there's no dead kids laying around. There's not a little girl tied up in the bed. It's all on the piece of shit computer.
Is like a gay man who has never had sex with another man, but he's still gay. He knows what he wants. He knows what he likes. He's just faking
the brawny man from the paper towel since a kid.
Right?
All Kyle's nerdness is hidden in a folder called
Kyle
2017 Taxes.
His figurine love and pushes it deep down. Kyle doesn't want anyone to know the true him, that he's a figuriner. But
it's not just that. That's like another level of nerdiness. It really is.
He's a figure.
He's a fig.
I'm a figure.
He's a figure, and he doesn't want anyone to know.
I think figging is a thing, and it's disgusting that men do.
What is figging?
I don't know, but I'm sure that it's a disgusting thing that men do.
It's a guy who's into
Zach, tell me what figging means, because I bet it means like, I don't know, like putting your balls up your asshole or something. It's something awful.
There's gonna be some stupid sentence on Urban Dictionary, like, yeah, he was talking shit, and so I figged him.
But
Kyle's a closet figure, and he just doesn't want people to know.
I might be.
He's as nerdy as nerdy comes.
But here's, I thought if I exposed myself to some figging, and see how I feel, and then masturbate, and then I would know for sure if I was a figure. And man, I went to a YouTube channel where they fig, and they had like this table in this guy's garage where he had all that, that green styrofoam that you sort of shape with a saw to make a landscape.
My mother had a lot of that.
This guy has a lot of that. Your mother had a little bit. This guy,
basically no amount at all.
Your mother would be blown away if she saw the amount this man has. Trust me. And he's made this. It reminded me of those grown men with model trains, but less cool because trains are real. Conductors are real.
Dude, there's
that hat he's wearing. A professional wears that somewhere.
You know what?
Meanwhile,
I'm sorry.
You got your Dark Angels and your fucking Bloodborne Space Marines or whatever the fuck. And it's, come on, man. You hand painted all that shit. How much does all this cost? You could have bought a car. How much did all this cost? Each piece is a fucking $800 thing.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys haven't been to stores where they sell these, like if you go to stores where like, because I have a ton of nerdy shit around my house. People know, like when you come in to like a game store, there's, Magic cards and board games and everything. And then usually behind the counter, there's like some Warhammer figurines. And even if it's not a Warhammer specific shop, they'll have like a big one. And so like, if you want to get like Kugath or a legendary lord, like a big figurine, that's hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And if you want to get Kugath's right-hand lieutenant, that guy's going to cost you a couple $100. Like, and so these people,
but they're
see
not
with
painted.
Like the big,
they're gray.
Yeah, they're gray. Most like, I saw a couple you could buy painted, which seems like it kind of defeats the purpose of the hobby for the people who are into it. Or maybe some people are really into just collecting and not the painting. I don't know. But this is not something I will get into. Like Magic is nerdy enough, and Magic, like it's cards,
$1,000 an army.
It doesn't take a ton.
Like if you were frugal, it would cost you about $1,000 an army. I think someone told me. They're probably a little,
and it would be the Magic the Gathering problem again, or any kind of pay-to-win game where you go into the store and you're happy with your army that you spent $1,100 on over the course of a couple of years, and then Joe Neighbor comes in and he's got an army that you're suddenly like, oh damn, like. I thought my fucking my Space Marine army was so cool, but that Orc army is like, that's so, maybe I could dabble it. Maybe I can start, just one figurine, just one, like, and then that's how it gets you.
This is the best season of South Park in a long time. The last episode was about hot dogs or something. That was a little lame, but the rest of them have been quite good. And I think in the last one, the boys got into Warhammer 40k coincidentally, and it's spring break, and Randy wants to like hang out with Stan. He's like, come on, it's spring break. We do whatever we want. Your mom's gone. He's like, really? Can we do 40k? Hell yeah, we can do 40k. Like, oh, weekend, all my friends come over, we can do 40k. Yeah, like all weekend 40k. Like clearly has no idea what that means. Like, we're gonna 40k the fuck out of this. And then they set up the fucking table with the green styrofoam. And
is this a new episode?
Yeah. All
right, I'm gonna watch this one.
Yeah, they're playing tabletop 40k, and Randy thinks they're just fucking losers and wants to get them drunk and some like hang around girls and stuff. Yeah, have like 20-year-old man spring break, even though he's 40 and they're 8 or something. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. But yeah, they're all into 40k. So that was neat.
Dude, after watching a video or two on YouTube of top-down video of people playing the 40k game, like I 1,000,000% can see how that would be a blast. But I would never, ever, ever wants to own that stuff or do it. But if I went to like a GameStop show, like game store for like a Friday Night Magic or something, and I got like knocked out early or something, and they had one of those, because like the thing about game stores is like it's similar to the gym in that like the people there are so into their thing and they love sharing what they're into with other new people that like if you get there and there's someone playing Warhammer 40k and like you ask like, can you teach me how to like, can you like show me the ropes a little bit here? Like almost a guarantee that person's going to be like, dude, 100% here. Like, let's play a quick game. Like that would be a blast. Like setting up the little figurines.
You ask one of those guys how to get started. You're like, all right, I'm going to buy my starter army. How much is it going to cost me? None of them have the social skills to answer that question correctly. They don't know how to do it because they're into Warhammer 40k. So none of them can say, it's going to be several $100s and you'll be okay. But $1,000 if you really want to have a great time. They can't do that. They can't boil it down. Like, what do you want to be? Do you want to be the fucking the Nurglings of doo-doo isles, or do you want to be the fucking Space Marine to the sky? You want to be a blood dragons or bone dragons? And they always have a speech impediment without fail. The guy who's going to explain it to you. What? There's nothing wrong with that. I end up feeling like a loser just by being associated with them.
It doesn't make you feel like a king standing there where you're like, damn.
I'm into so many nerdy things already, man. Just let me have this one thing that I don't do.
I'm not saying that you have to get into it. I'm saying, let's say you and I were at a game store and there was a setup board and they were like, this is like the free-to-play thing. We're trying to get more people into 40K. This guy here's going to teach you to play. Of course you'd play.
You know what I'd rather do is Dungeons & Dragons. That's what you could tip me into much more easily, because every now and then I'll catch some little short of some guys playing Dungeons & Dragons, Dungeons and Dragons. Clearly, they have a YouTube channel devoted to that, where everyone's sitting around a table, and they're very good at it. And I don't know. I find that interesting. That is a game that's clearly
good at Dungeons and Dragons.
Being creative, and if you're a dungeon master, it's being creative and explaining what's going on and enforcing the rules and interpreting things. World building, sure. But each of the characters, the guys who was playing, seemed to really know the ins and outs of the game and the things they could ask for. I don't remember the specifics. It was something, they were in a bar and one guy wanted a weapon, but they couldn't have weapons in the bar, and he's like, I will have the largest bottle of alcohol you have, please. Empty. They're like, we can't do that. Are you refusing to serve me, wench? The whole thing like that. And I was like, I could get into this. Like the idea of being silly enough to maybe find ways around their rules of
I've played it before
and have fun.
Good time. I don't know any. I didn't know any of the rules or anything. The group I was playing with, like kind of handled all that. I just had fun with like being a character and like joking around and doing that, and trying to because it's not a video game. And so if he's like, ahead of you, innkeep speaking to a shady person in a hood. You don't know much about him, but that's the innkeeper that the Goblin King referred to.
Yes.
What do you do to get past him? And then instead you can be like,
can I sneak down the alley and overhear the conversation?
It's like, or you can say something like, okay, we're in the Empire. Okay. And they care a lot about keeping the religion there. Okay. I sneak into an alley and yell out a blasphemous comment to draw away the guard. And they'll be like, all right, roll initiative or roll whatever this. And then you have to roll to try and escape from it or whatever. And so you do it from like unique angles. That's a terrible example because I'm not like...
No. I think it's a good example because your character will be better at sneaking or escaping based on who you're playing as. If I'm the drunken oaf tailor. Well, you fail to sneak because your sneak skill is a 2 and reroll. Yep, you fail. You're caught by the guards who imprison you for your drinking tab at the end, my drunken friend. Yeah. All right, let's see if you can roll to pick the lock. And your last lock pick is broken. Now you must prostitute yourself to Olaf the Barbarian. Let's roll to see if he wants anal.
Yeah, it's fun. And you're right. Like you have to be like, well, I don't want to sneak and do it. Kyle's playing a bard character. He can probably do that, and he's very sneaky or something to that effect. I would totally
see myself enjoying that, especially if there's any visual representation. I'm sure we will all have games.
You get to do voices.
Yeah, I could do that. I'd like to get voices too.
Hell yeah, dude.
Most of the things that I thought were lame as a kid turned out. I think those people allow themselves to have that reputation so they can have their cool kids club. That's what I choose to believe about train conductors in their garage and Dungeons and Dragons players. Those are the cool people amongst us.
Those are the cool ones. Those are the guys who say, I know what I like and I like what I like, and you can fuck off if you don't like it. Did I mention we've talked a lot about like nerdy shit and like silliness this episode, and like largely like I really do enjoy when I see someone enjoying silly things. That's like, but it's not my silly thing, but they enjoy it the same way I enjoy my silly things. It's like a camaraderie of like, yeah, that guy with his fucking train shit. Like I got my stupid stuff too, like magic and like that. Like I get it. Fuck, where was I going with
that? You like seeing people enjoying their weird hobbies.
Oh, the nerdy shit. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I really did have a moment where I had to pause last night in like the middle of the second video. I was watching like the histories of the Skaven in Warhammer. Yeah. And I was like, like, man, I'm spending a lot of time learning about a fantasy world right now. And there was an urge to be like, oh, this is like really nerdy and embarrassing. And it's like, no, this is like, I'm really enjoying this.
Let me tell you where I draw the line, because I've been there. I really like learning the lore behind that stuff, and it's all made up, but it's quote unquote official because Games Workshop like says it is, or whoever that is that owns the company. Yeah. It's like, oh, this is the 10th edition. This is real. We say it is. I was watching a YouTuber who does his own fan fiction, and I was like, oh, but you're just making it up. It's all made up. That is not lost upon me. But his version of made up is more made up than their version. Their made up version is the real version, and his made up version, it could be anything. Who's to say I like his when it can change so willy-nilly without the whole corporation saying, yeah, that is how things are.
Sure.
So if I
want Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, not Amazon's.
Well, it's also he's some fly-by-night YouTuber. If I allow myself to let his version into me and let that be something I enjoy,
invite him into your heart.
Yeah, invite him into my heart. Yeah, and he turns on me. It's going to be such a loss. I might not recover from it. So I'll only delve into the official versions of nonsense, not the made-up versions of nonsense. Yeah. However, the guy I'm talking about literally has this thing about Cronan, the greatest of the orcs. And it's like a 5-hour story about this orc's life, and I think it's all made up from by him. And I still like it. I don't know. I listen to it all, but yeah,
I mean, that's creative.
I feel very silly sometimes when I'm learning about the made up nonsense, but I don't know. I like the made up nonsense. All media is made up nonsense.
It's a fantasy world, the same as Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, or all that. The one thing I did like with watching these videos though is like if I click on one of them. And it's a guy being like, George Starchild was the leader of this segment. And he talks like that. I turn it off immediately. Like there's a channel with like a British guy who does it. And it adds such an air of education to it. Where instead of like some American, some dumbass like me who talks like me, like talking about it, it's some guy who's like, and after the Skaven king fell, the new order rose, and it's like, what about? Tell me about the new order, the Council of 13, and it's like all that kind of shit. It's really really cool, and well, that's the wrong word. It's really not cool. It's
not cool at all.
There are very talented YouTubers in that space.
Yeah.
I just like stories. And it's such that universe is already well formed, so you can allow yourself to enjoy those stories and know that the rug isn't going to be pulled out from under you by some, bad storytelling or a bad product in general. It's always good stuff. I like it a lot. And yeah, I don't know. I've gotten to the point where I can't imagine myself judging anyone for their nerdy thing outside of those figurines and dressing up as animals. Sorry, furries. Sorry, except for Switch. You're okay. I like
Switch
that
is
guy.
fine. I like him.
Yeah, he can dress up as a blue wolf because I think it's all about him just getting as much dick as possible. And I think he dress up as anything they wanted him to.
It is.
He loves
dick.
All that dick.
And you know what? He knows what he likes.